It is such a pleasure to have you here with us tonight.
Sure.
We're so thankful that you made
Thank
the
you.
time. And I know this is a cause that's important to you for
Absolutely.
very personal reasons.
Yeah,
Tell me about
I
your
mean,
military service.
I spent a total amount of time, periodicity from, I enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1974 and I got my official discharge in 1996. Though my active service was about 17 years, my total time was over 22 years. And I right now, and have since the time that I walked off active duty, I've really, literally never taken the uniform off. I'm a board member of Fisher House. My show that I have right now, I have 2 shows in the air. One of them is called Military Makeover with Montel, where we literally take veterans who own their home and may need a hand up in making that house a little bit more livable for them. So we literally will make a home over from the ground up. Whenever I'm leaving tomorrow to go do one in Wisconsin. And I have another show that's called Military Makeover Operation Careers, where we feature companies that hire veterans and veterans that work at those companies to show that there's an opportunity for transition now. And I'm a board member of Fisher House, which is like the Ronald McDonald House of VA hospitals. And I've spent a lot of time, especially in the last 10 years, 15 years, working on veteran issues. I actually took my first company public, which is a company that works in traumatic brain injury. And we're working to get FDA approval for a really breakthrough, amazing technology that will, I hope, once we actually get to deploy it, will start saving veteran lives.
What are some of the biggest challenges facing this generation of veterans right now?
It's the same challenge that's faced our veterans in this country since we've been a country without a draft. Though for a period of time, maybe in the last 10, 15 years, I think Americans kind of felt a sense of guilt and decided that, yeah, I better thank the guy that literally is holding this democracy together for me since I don't serve. And let's remember that less than 1% of this population puts a uniform on its back to defend our democracy. And so we come up with these tricky phrases these days called, I support the troops, or thank you for your service, which is nothing more than a how you doing? Because we know that how you doing, nobody cares what the answer is. And when you say thank you for your service, you watch people in the airports, you watch people like I do, walk around, I'll see a veteran walk by and I see him say, thank you for your service, and go back to the conversation without even waiting to hear an answer. And as much as we claim to thank someone for their service, it's an abomination to me that as of today, we still have 22 veterans taking their lives every single day. Most recent report came from the VA that said that we've lost 60,000 veterans to suicide. 10 years. And have the audacity to act like we really support the troops. And we know that this is now, I think, systemic. It's a problem that covers every aspect of the society. And, I'm not blaming any individual, but, when I entered the service in 1974, over 68% of our elected officials had military service, and 83% of them had a family member that had military service. Nowadays, we have less than 12% of our elected officials who dared to put a uniform on their back to defend what they claim to be this America that they want to have. So that's the biggest problem facing our soldiers, because we have, whether we want to act like we do or not, I challenge people to say, I don't think you care. I really don't.
Well, you were very instrumental in speaking up against the VA scandal in 2014.
Absolutely.
What needs to happen in Washington?
We sit back right now as hawks circle, trying their best to put another generation in the war for their own political gains. And a lot of people sit around in silence and don't care. But we better understand something real quick. No matter what lies you have been told and what falsehoods you have been given about the fact that though we spent $3 trillion on military hardware, 60% of those who show up at a boot camp in this country can't pass the physical to get in. We are, by attrition, losing more soldiers than we are putting in. When this next conflict happens, let it be known it's your children who will be drafted. America can't fight a war without a draft. And sit back and wait until that happens to complain, it's then too late.
An event like this, an organization like this, that is trying in a very grassroots, hands-on way to help. Speak to the importance of that.
The Forever in My Heart Foundation, like there are other organizations like this across the country, have been looking at something that's been a proven fact for now over 15,000 years. 15 to 30,000 years ago, we can go back in history and in archaeology and find that the bond between humans and dogs was something that evolved, and evolved specifically with these two species. There are no other species on the planet that share the physiological and the psychological bond that a human being has with a dog. And this isn't me talking. I need you to look it up, guys. I'm telling you. I mean, the truth of the matter is, you know, the chimpanzee, which is the closest genetic kind of animal to a human being, and maybe the wolf, which is the closest genetic animal to modern day dog, don't share some of the genetic code that dogs and humans share.
So you're saying the emotional support peacock on the airplane doesn't quite cut it?
It's not the same.
No.
I mean, we know this for a fact. A Japanese doctor about, 10 years ago discovered the fact that when a human being looks into the eyes of a dog, the human being and the dog release a chemical in the brain that's the love chemical. It's called oxytocin.
Yeah.
And that oxytocin release is the same chemical release when a mother looks into the eyes of a baby.
Sure. Yeah.
That's what helps a baby bond to the mother. This animal has genetically changed and evolved to be able to look in our eyes and stimulate deep embedded glands in the brain that we already assessed 10 and 15 years ago. Reduces stress, reduces anxiety, helps performance, helps human beings work. So we have the knowledge, and the studies have been done that proves that the connection between canine and human is something that's like no other connection on this planet.
Yeah.
We know that. Now you have an organization like this that spends the amount of money that they do to help train animals to assist our most valuable treasure. Those who have spent and paid ultimate sacrifices for us. Yet the VA won't cover that because they want to do another study. You need another study. How about 30,000 years of study? So I am so proud to be here tonight and happy to be here tonight to see if I can help, people at home understand that we have 22 dying a day that could be impacted if we supported organizations like this to give them the support they need to thrive. These guys put a uniform on their back, left body parts on the battlefield, just to allow us the choice to hate. Why don't we ease the hate towards them and give them the tools that they need to thrive?
How do we make America great?
I'm going to tell you, contrary to this popular slogan and falsehood, America was always great and will always be great as long as its people remember the first three words of our Constitution: we the people. It's really funny how, let's go back again, I entered the service in 1974. We probably had less than 10% of our entire Congress and Senate that were millionaires. Take a look at it now. Look it up yourself. 80% of them have over $1 million that they made while in office. Who are they in office for? We the people? Or like every other segment of society is turned into, the narcissistic generation.
Yeah.
Who are they making money for? So I think America just has to remember the sacred trust we put in each other when we decided to pull away from a monarchy and establish a republic that was based on democratic principles. If we do that, we survive. If we don't do that, America's seen its best days.
I want to get back to that incredible bond you were talking about. You're a dog lover?
I am a dog lover, owner, and I will say, firsthand knowledge of how important animals are in our lives. A year and a month ago, I suffered a major hemorrhagic stroke. I spent the entire month of June in the hospital. First 5 days I was in that hospital, I literally was not paralyzed, but was unable to actually access all the facilities of my body for the first 5 days. I worked very hard at therapy and physical therapy and calming myself down to get out of the hospital. And the first thing we did was get me in a place that I could have Max sit on my lap.
Max is your dog?
Max is my dog. And Mr. Maxie, I'm going to tell you, we know for a fact that dogs help to reduce stress, they help to reduce blood pressure. My issue at that moment had been I never had a blood pressure problem in my entire life. Never hypertensive. I had what doctors have termed a transient event where my blood pressure had spiked, and it caused this hemorrhagic stroke that normally kills 50% of people who have it.
Wow.
But I'm going to tell you, I spent that first 90 days recovering with Max by my side at all times, and it made the difference. I have a wife who literally was by my side for the entire time I was in the hospital. Of course, they wouldn't let Max in the hospital. But after I got out of there and we got home, we went and got Max, and Max laid on the bed, and it was really very funny. Before my stroke, for 8 years of his life, he slept, he'd sleep either in his kennel or on the bed at night. He kind of bounces back and forth. But almost the entire 8 years, he never slept above my knee. He always slept down by my feet, at the end of the bed, stayed in a little corner. When I came home after my stroke, Max slept right here, always.
Right near your heart?
Right near my heart. He would come up every morning, comes up, looks me on the face, looks me on the head. And it's like, but he knew.
Yeah.
He knew, his daddy needed him. And I, without any hesitation, without any, I'm proud of the fact that I have the bond that I have with that animal.
Yeah. There are a number of service dog schools throughout the country that are doing somewhat similar things. I think what's really unique about Forever in My Heart is that they take rescue dogs.
Yes.
They're saving 2 lives with every partnership. That's so special.
And it's an organization that really was founded in the idea of what it could do for the least of us. So it started out, if you think about every religion on the planet, I don't care if it's Christianity, Hinduism, whatever. Every religion talks about how you will be judged at the end of your time by what you did for the least of us on this planet. To me, I think that's referring to animals like dogs. And because if we look back in history, again, the least of us, and when we say us, we need to include dogs because they've been a part of mankind's history and evolution for now, really, we think 100,000 years, but the current type of dog probably evolved around 30,000 years ago. We've seen and are finding grave sites all over the world now from 15 to 30,000 years old where human beings were buried with their dog, not with their cat, though we find a couple cats every now and then, especially in Egypt. Yeah. We find a couple horses every now and then. But the predominance of animals that are treated with reverence on this planet for 15,000 years has been dogs, not even the goldfish.
Loyalty.
Loyalty.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Loyalty, and I think, it's that sense that, whether you believe in religion or not, the good Lord decided to put a companion species on this planet with us. Dog is the only animal on the planet that will look in the direction of where a human points.
Right.
No other animal.
Yeah.
You can point all day long to a tiger, a lion, a bear. Oh my. They're not looking.
Right.
The dog immediately looks to where you point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a synergy.
Yes.
It's amazing. So what's your message to all the people that are coming here tonight and the people who will see this and maybe think about coming in the future?
I think tonight I'm speaking to the choir, which is a good choir. It'll be a choir that'll be nice to help lift up and make them understand that what they have believed has been true. I think for those who are home watching and have never really supported an organization like this, I would wish that they would stop for a minute, even if they're not dog people, animal people. Take the time to study your own history. Take the time to recognize that I can't believe a person doesn't understand that out of all the other animals that are on this planet, the other species on this planet, the dog is the only one that, whether you believe in God or not, and I do, that God decided to have interact with us. And if he made that decision, why don't we?
What is the one thing you know to be true?
The one thing I know to be true is really every one of us, as I put down the idea of narcissism, but reflecting on it a little bit, every one of us needs to understand that we alone own the definition of who we are. And that I know is to be true. There's no person on this planet who can define you, tell you what you're supposed to be, tell you how you're supposed to behave, tell you what allegiances you're supposed to have. The only person that can truly do that is you. The only way you get to do that is understand who you are. So I know to be true a fact and tenet that I live for. I take the time each day to reflect upon my own behavior. I alone hold me accountable. No one else holds me accountable. When this is all said and done, I really won't care what that guy over there had to say about me. What difference does he make in my life? But what I had to say about myself is what guided me while I was here. And I wish more people would take the time to understand who they are, and then we wouldn't have so many blind followers. So many people who will just jump aboard something to jump aboard something, rather than be a part of something because it's a part of it.
I think that's an especially important message for where we stand in history right now. I know this is such a, just seeing you get emotional speaking so passionately about what our veterans are enduring. I want to hear what you have to say to that veteran who's struggling right now, who's still sitting in the dark, who hasn't connected with an organization like this yet, who maybe is thinking of making that choice.
It's the reason why I say that you alone own the definition of who you are. You're sitting alone right now because for some reason you believe the stupid angst that nothing will change, that there's no help for you, that you can't get out of the hole that you're in. But believe me, there's books and science and research that has proven just as quickly as we can spiral ourselves down into an abyss, we have the power within to spiral ourselves up out of that abyss. Sometimes you may have to reach out for not a hand up, but just a helping hand to make you see that there's light. So I would hope a veteran understands that the same strength you showed that's greater than 99.1% of all the other people who live in this country didn't have your strength, didn't have your will, didn't have your integrity to want to put your life before others. They didn't have that strength. And that's the kind of strength that you know you have inside. Times have been tough, but draw upon that strength right now. and break yourself and say, you know what, I need a little help. And it's okay to need a little help. And for those who don't understand that that's what our goal should be as Americans, to help them, screw them. Reach out to another one and they will give you the help you need.
There is hope.
There's hope. No
And I
question.
see a lot of points of light tonight in this room.
Oh,
They're going to
absolutely.
be joining us here.
Absolutely.
Is there anything you feel really strongly about that you'd like to say that we haven't touched on?
You know, that's my problem. I feel so strongly about everything.
I know, and there's so much I want to ask you about. I just,
Yeah. I just think, we are living in a really tough time. A time where there's a false divide that's been perpetrated on the American public. A false divide that's been put there because of, again, individual narcissism. And Americans have to remember that we fought to extricate ourselves from the tyranny of narcissism. I hope that we remember that and try our best to recognize that no matter what way you look at it, it took all of us to get us to where we are here. It's going to take all of us to get us even further. And if we think we can do this by ourselves, look at all the other great dynasties of the last 300 years that didn't make it 300 years.
A cautionary tale.
I don't know if it's being heeded.
Well, we're doing what we can, right?
Absolutely. And, it's events like this that literally make us all recognize again. When it's all said and done, if you're a believer in any kind of faith whatsoever, you stand before whoever it is you think is your maker, I think we know for a fact we'll be individually judged by what we've done for the least of us. And if you can't say you've done anything at all, you better get busy.
That's very good advice. Love.
Yeah.
Love. That's what
That's
I
it.
think it all boils down to, right?
You hope. Yeah, absolutely. You hope that people can see that and see that clearly. Unfortunately, when you look back in time, and, I try to spend a lot of time reflecting on history, and man has spent a lot of time being inhumane to man. Rather than supporting mankind, we've been less than kind to our fellow man. More than we've been kind. It's time that paradigm shifts.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.